My people, what is going on? This is your boy Monroe. Hey. Oh, listen. Thank you. Just having a little fun here on the Naked Truth Experience. This is your boy Monroe, and I am your host, your proud host of the Naked Truth Experience, and we welcome you here tonight for another episode, y'all. This is episode 24 of the Naked Truth Experience. And as always, we have another wonderful, in-depth, unadulterated, uncut, naked truth conversation for you tonight. I want y'all to come on in the room. As we always do, when you come in the room, greet your community members, greet your neighbors, tell us where you are viewing from. Let us know who you are. If this is your first time joining us, let us know that. I want to welcome you. We've been here 24 weeks. I don't know what took you so long, but it doesn't matter because you are here today. So let us know if this is your first time. If this is your 24th time, God bless you. I love you because you have been supporting this platform since day one, and I appreciate it. And for everybody who is an episode in between that from 1 to 24, I love you. I thank you so much because this is because of you. And I'm so excited that we get to bring these kind of conversations from week to week. Now, listen, tonight we have another wonderful subject, and this is actually a continuation. But before I get into that, I want to remind you that I need you to like, share, and subscribe, y'all. We are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, we are on YouTube. So I need you to subscribe to that YouTube channel. I need you to share us and like us on Facebook and Instagram, and then also continue the conversation in our Facebook group. Okay, the Naked Truth Experience. We have a Facebook community group where we continue the conversation. Here's the thing. October is going to bring some new features to our Naked Truth Experience, specifically in our featured wine segment. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, then you would have seen I announced a new partnership with the little wine guy, my boy Dan out of Napa, California. I made a trip on up there. Yes, I did. Socially distanced. I was safe, y'all. Fires. I'm praying for everybody in California who've been impacted by the fires. But I did make that trip over to Napa, and Dan and I are cooking up some amazing features for the wine segment. Now, the ones who are in the Facebook group are going to get those previews and some of those exclusive offers when it comes to our wine samples. So I'm just saying, once again, join our Facebook group. And again, as always, share with a friend. Keep coming in. Let us know where you are viewing from. And also tonight's discussion, get in those comments, y'all. My wonderful producer, Julius, is reading all of the comments, and your comment just might be featured tonight. So tell us if you agree with what's being said here. Let us know. Underscore it. Give us your point. If you disagree, that's all right too. This is what dialogue is all about. So let us know what your opinion is, right? This is the Naked Truth, and we want to understand the diverse perspective of everybody who is here. I want to just, first of all, also, before I go any further, on a serious note, our nation continues to hurt. I mentioned the fires in California, but we understand that our nation has been burning figuratively for a long time. And I just want to take a moment to pay homage and respect to the memory and the life of Miss Breonna Taylor. Many of us are aware of the outrageousness of how long it has taken for us to actually not to get any justice. And if many of you may have heard that no one was charged for the murder, for the killing, for the death of Breonna Taylor, again, which is just another slap in the face to our Black brothers and sisters, but specifically to our sisters, our Black queens. And I just want to let you know that we love you, we honor you, and we uplift you. And for us in the Black community, us brothers, we need to do better in honoring our queen. So I just had to say that we have a wonderful queen on tonight who is going to share her story of entrepreneurship and really traversing through this journey of the American dream. So I'm excited to have her on, but I had to take the time to say that. So again, I want to pray for the family of Breonna Taylor, and I want to pray for you because I understand that every single time we witness this injustice, it affects us all. It affects us all. So again, let's lean and love on one another. All right. So tonight's show, we are continuing the conversation about the American dream, the myth. right? This American dream. I want to read the definition of the American dream. And I'm just going to kind of set this up. It says, the ideal by which equality of opportunity is available to any American, allowing the highest aspirations and goals to be achieved. Is that American dream available to us all? Is one of the central questions that we're going to ask tonight. And I have a wonderful panel. Actually, before I do that, I see greetings from Nassau, Bahamas. Yes, yes, yes. Love it. We are international, y'all. Before I do that, Julius, can you put that slide on the screen about the American dream? I just wanted to share this with you. My good brother, Dr. Tyson Lord Gray, he was actually teaching tonight on this very subject. And so he had shared this graphic with me, and I wanted to just show it to you because I think it brilliantly illustrates what we're talking about, of what does it take for the African American in this country to reach the American dream. And I'm not sure on what screen you're viewing it on, but we're hearing, you got to start here at slavery, right? Lynchings, lose 5 turns. Denial of voting rights, lose 10 turns. The KKK, lose 3 turns. We move on to the civil rights era, go ahead 5 spaces. But then poor schools, you got to go back 9 spaces, right? Gang culture, affirmative action. We get 1 free turn. Disproportionate prison incarcerations. You're losing 6 terms. I think you can understand what this visual is illustrating here, y'all. Is the American dream set up for us? Is the American dream attainable for everyone, like this definition says? And we'll be talking about that in our conversations tonight. Now I want to introduce our distinguished panel of guests. I love having these guests on. And the first brother is no stranger to the Naked Truth Experience. And this is his second go round. And I said, listen, we're going to get it right. I want to introduce my brother, Jerome Fenton. He's an entrepreneur and a business coach. Jerome, where you at? Where you at? I want to bring him up on the screen. Because here's the deal. Jerome last month actually started the conversation. Jerome, where you at? You still on mute, brother. Go ahead and unmute yourself there.
Okay, perfect. What about now?
There we go. Listen, Jerome, I want to welcome you back because you started this conversation with me last month and we had some technical difficulties. I'm telling you, the devil was all in the wires.
It was all in the wires.
It was all in the wires. And but I wanted to make sure I had you back because you have such a compelling journey that I wanted you to share with folks. So thank you, brother, for being here. And I can't wait to start the conversation. I'm going to come to you first. So We'll be with you shortly.
Thanks so much for having me back.
Absolutely. And then I want to welcome Aamira Garba. Aamira Garba is a marketing strategist, and she is also a wine maker. Now, I am overjoyed. Aamira, what is going on? You're on mute too. Go ahead and take that mute off. Take that mute off.
Do that.
We want to hear you. There we go.
Act like I don't do this all day, every day.
Listen, right. You got this. You got this. Listen, Aamira, what's going on? Welcome to the Naked Truth Experience. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. I'm officially a newbie to the Naked Truth Experience, but I'm excited for tonight.
Yes. Listen, I have to tell you, and I was joking with you when we were in our pre-show meeting. I was like, listen, I went through hell and high water to get this bottle of wine, but I'm telling y'all tonight, I am so excited because what have I been saying from week to week? I want to feature Black winemakers. I want to feature Black winemakers. And just so happens, another brother, Dominic, had invited me to this political sip and chat a few weeks ago. And Aamira comes on and is like, yes, we're doing the introduction. She's like, and I'm a winemaker, lovely wines. I said, hold up, I got to get you. And several weeks later, here you are. And so tonight, Aamira, I am sipping, right?
Yay, my baby, my first
baby. Tell me a little bit about on what I'm sipping on tonight.
Yes, so the Legend blend is a red wine blend. Obviously, it has primarily Syrah in it, but it also has Merlot, Zinfandel, Petite Syrah, and a little Viognier, which is actually a white wine grape. It has 14.7% alcohol content, so people love that about it.
Am I getting tipsy tonight? Is that what's happening?
I'm listening. You might want to slip slow. You want to make it through this show. I'm just saying. Okay. But it is a great wine. It's a dry wine, but the acidity levels on that wine and the tannins are just beautiful to me. It's my favorite of all my babies, but I'm also a red wine drinker, so I can't wait to hear about what you think.
Listen, I'm already loving it. I really, really do. And I mean that because I'm sipping it for the first time on live with you.
Yes.
So I'm taking it all in. And again, I'm so happy to have you on. And we're going to get into your journey second. And I'm going to hear all about how you became this winemaker, because all that you were speaking, it sounded lovely in my ear. I just don't know everything you was talking about, but it tastes good. I swear it tastes good.
I got you.
All right.
All about it, honey.
Thank you, Aamira. We'll be talking to you soon. So, y'all, that is my panel for tonight. Once again, the American Dream, the myth. And I want to welcome you to episode 24 of The Naked Truth. Again, get in those comments and let us know. Let's go on and bring Jerome back on. So let's talk to this brother here. And we're going to dive into the conversation. Jerome, what is going on, man? How you doing today, brother? You gotta turn that mute off. We gotta turn that mute off.
I'm doing well.
There we go. Now, Jerome, you and I sit in the same state of New Jersey, correct? Yes.
Yes.
But you are originally from New York City, yeah? Or you were born in the States, or were you first generation?
So originally I was born in Jamaica, not Queens, Jamaica, the country, and then I moved to New York. I lived in the Bronx from when I was 7 until like about 26, 27.
Got you. And then you're over in New Jersey. You know, they talk about as bad here in New York about the bridge and tunnel people, but I let them know we got space and quiet. So there, take that. How about that?
Yes. That's 100% true.
I want to welcome you back, Jerome, because as I mentioned before, you and I met actually through my real estate agent. I don't know if she's watching tonight. She's usually watching. Karina, if you're there, love you. Shout out and thank you for the connection. But I was on your podcast, which is H is for Hustle. Yeah. And tell me a little bit about H is for Hustle and where did you come up with that idea and what's the premise for the show?
All right, so H for Hustle it's a media and education company. The goal is to educate early stage entrepreneurs or people who are on the fence and want to go into entrepreneurship, is to offer them education. The podcast is just the stories of people who have made that transition, like yourself and countless others who've made that, because a lot of people, they're nervous about making that transition. Like that's the hardest thing, is like the jump into a stable job at corporate America to then go working for yourself. So the goal is to tell stories of how people have made that transition, and hopefully the audience can see themselves within one of the people that they listen to.
Yeah, and I was one of your guests, and I had a lovely time on there telling my story, right, and my journey. Yeah. And you are right. It is, I'm not even going to say it was, because presently it is still scary every day when you're out here hustling and you're building your vision and your dream. But the thing is that, man, you are a serial entrepreneur. So this ain't your first rodeo, man. You started right when we first talked, man. You started your business like in Brooklyn, right? And in the Bronx, finding old bicycles. And you found this old bike with one of your partners or a group of your friends, and then you were like, yo, we could fix this up and we could sell it. Like, I asked you this before, but for those who did not get a chance to see you on the first show, just where was your mind at as a young person seeing this opportunity, and how did you even recognize opportunity at that age?
So I would say the reason how I recognized it was literally like, I'm an immigrant, my parents are immigrants. We didn't have much money. It's like 5 of us in a 1-bedroom apartment. So literally I couldn't go to my parents and say, hey, can I have a $400 anything? I couldn't have for a bicycle, anything, right? So you have to be scrappy and kind of just figure it out. And my friends and I were just like, how are we going to make money? And randomly, we seen a bike in the garbage. In New York City, it's garbage everywhere. You saw a bike in the garbage, you picked one up and just started. We learned to fix it here and there, and then eventually put that bike together, sold it. And then in that moment, it was like, oh, I can take nothing and make something. Oh, I can actually figure this out. And that's when one of like the first moments where it clicked for me in my mind, where you can literally find trash and literally sell it and now make money, and you 100% profit because there's no money in it. You had no money in it.
So when did folks start taking you seriously? Because I'm wondering, like, did you tell your parents, like, yo, we fixed up this bike and we sold it and there was this profit, however much the profit was, right? I'm sure the percentage, the margin from nothing to something, right,
Yeah.
was pretty amazing with that. But like, when did people really start taking you seriously as an entrepreneur? At what point was that?
I think I would say when I was 24. So, time progresses. After high school, I realized I wasn't the greatest student. So I was like, I want to start a business. And I started a cleaning company with two of my best friends. And no one took it seriously. We were struggling the first couple of years. No one took it seriously. And then we got a write-up in the Bronx Times Reporter, which is like a local newspaper, but we got a write-up and we were featured on like the second page. As soon as you open it, we were featured right there. And then all of a sudden, everyone was like, you guys are doing so good in life. And I always knew you were going to be great. Like, that's when people took it seriously.
Did them cousins come out the network, like all them second cousins be like, cousin, cut Pete, what's going on, right? Like, isn't that always how it happens? Like, but did you receive resistance before that write-up? Did people tell you were crazy? Did people tell you, no, go get that good education so you can go get that good job? Like, what was that feedback like prior to this write-up?
So coming out of high school, I knew I wasn't going into college, right? So because of that, I found, and in immigrant parents, the thing they want you to do is come to America, get the greatest education, be a doctor, a lawyer, get the most stable job possible, and kind of grow from there. And for me to say, I'm not going to go to college and I'm going to go clean stuff, my mom was like, I didn't bring you to this country to clean other people's crap.
Like, oh no,
She's like, oh no, you're taking a step back. Yeah. So we got a lot of resistance along the way. So it wasn't the easiest road to say. We got a ton of resistance along the way.
Yeah. So would you say that your parents bought into the American dream, the ideal that by which equality of opportunity is available to any American, allowing the highest aspiration and goals to be achieved? Did they believe in that American dream?
Yeah. I mean, granted, we're coming from Jamaica, right? So in Jamaica, a dollar, you can't buy you anything. Like, you go to the supermarket, you spend $40,000 and you come home with like bread, cheese, and egg. Like, that's, so when you come here and you can go to a dollar store and buy something for $1, it does kind of give you the opportunity to kind of grow. They came here with not much, and where their life is now is way further than where it was when they came here. So they did buy into that, and education. And I'm not knocking education. I once did, but not anymore. It's the fastest way to excel depending on what career path you choose. Like, you could do 4 years in something and actually excel yourself. So they bought into it. I didn't, because I didn't think it was the right fit for me, but they thought, it's a cookie cutter mold, jump in, go to school, and you should be great in life.
Okay. So now we hitting on something here, right? And this is when we start digging in a little bit and where it becomes a little bit of a touchy subject, especially in the Black community, right?
Yeah.
Because when we start talking about individuals have died, individuals have sacrificed for our rights to have access to education, so on and so forth, and to go get this. And then for some of us right now, and I say some of us because I had a very non-traditional path. I'm very open about that. It took me 13 years to finish my undergraduate degree. Yeah, y'all heard me what I said. It took me 13 years to finish my undergraduate degree. And I actually had my first 2 careers with a high school diploma, alongside of individuals who had master's degrees and doctorates, right? Yeah. These were some of my colleagues. At one point, my secretary had a master's degree. I had a high school diploma. Now, I'm not saying that that is something that, is happening. There was a lot of different factors, and I had work ethic and there was work experience, but I do say that, like, the 4-year journey that you talk about, that cookie cutter that everybody tries to shove everybody into, doesn't necessarily make sense for everybody.
Yeah.
And I know that's controversial, but I want to hear from you. When did you know, like, yo, this traditional path of education, and let's stay there for a moment, wasn't for you? And what did that feel like in a society and in a community that says essentially sometimes you ain't shit if you don't go to college?
Yeah, well, that's a great subject you're hitting on, because for me, I think it was 5th grade or 4th grade. I just wasn't really like excelling in school. And so the teachers thought like there's something wrong with me. So I went and got all these tests done, and I found out that I like learned slowly. I was a different learner. So I didn't really technically belong in special ed, but like I had to take one special ed class a day. It's called a resource room. So I had to do that. So instantaneously when I was in a resource room, and like I was 10 years old, I knew that I was like, I'm not really going to be good at school, because this just tells me right away that I'm not going to be good at school. So instantaneously in my mind, I knew like, all right, this is not, and I tried my best. Like, I think the reason why I passed most of the time is because I participated and I showed up. It wasn't because I had the greatest grade. But so around 10, 11, I would say I knew that school wasn't going to be the path that I was going to go on, because I was trying my hardest and I still couldn't get it.
Yeah. So what do you say now to individuals, young people who may be in your same spot and who may be struggling with school? What advice do you give them? Because obviously you've gone on, you're a family man, you have a family, you've had multiple business, and now you coach other people on how to start their businesses and to go through their, entrepreneur journey. What do you tell young people that are at the stage that you were at? Like, how do you encourage them to get beyond that point?
I try to tell them my story, but then also I tell them, like, there's multiple paths to down a road that you're trying to go to. School is just the one that everyone's trying to show you, but there's multiple ways to go about it. And I always just tell them just to dive into what they like to do, and then just go for that and try to build something outside of that. I mean, it's 2020. We have the internet. Like, you have a supercomputer in your pocket. You can do a lot of things with pretty much nothing these days. So I always tell them, if you have something that you want to do, go pursue that first. School is always there if you want to go for that option. It took you 13 years to figure it out. Go live your life and then go figure it out 13 years later.
Yeah.
That's usually what I tell them.
How does that, now you have young children. How does that, from the young ages that you are instilling certain things in them, what are some of the life lessons that even at the formative years, you're starting to instill in your daughters around the American dream and how they can achieve certain things in their lives? What are you saying even at the younger ages?
I'm mostly just trying to, like, tell them that they can do it, and it's mostly like just work hard. That's really all it is. Like, I believe, like, the word hustle. That's why my company's called H for Hustle, because I think hustle, if you listen to a rap song, it means different things. But for me, it just means work ethic. Like, you don't have to be the smartest. You don't have to be like the best. You just could just outwork people and get further in life than most people, because you're just willing to work hard. So for them, I just try to tell them to, like, there's competitions to run from the elevator to the door. And like, I try to push them to just work hard and compete and compete and compete. That's really much it, from like my 6-year-old, my 3-year-old, my 1-year-old. Even when they're crying and they're like, I lost, I'm like, well, next time you run faster. Let's just run faster.
Well, you ain't getting no compassion from daddy on that.
No.
Try harder.
That's it.
No, that's what's up. Let's switch a little bit to what you do now with your entrepreneur coaching clients. Okay. So you mentioned in the beginning this fear, and I confirmed the fear, right? Yeah. You and I talked about this. I will be honest, most of the fear that I had before I stepped out, I resigned from my job on January 6, 2020. So I'm still within the first year of my entrepreneurship journey. But the fear that I wasn't good enough, that was, man, let me tell you, because like I did go on and, I finished my undergrad and thankfully I pushed through and I was able to get a couple of master's degrees with that. So now I've got these things that are supposed to justify me, or these things that are supposed to validate me in this world. Right. But I'm not happy. Yeah. I'm not happy because there was this thing inside me that says, man, the things that you are doing for other people and other organizations and other companies, God has given you a vision for you to build that for yourself. Yeah. But the scariest thing is to overcome the narrative and combat the narrative that told me I wasn't good enough. So is that what you're seeing with a lot of your clients who are trying to step out into this entrepreneurship game? And how do you help them overcome that initial hurdle?
It's about 75% of it is self-doubt. I always tell them the first quote I like to tell people is the biggest killer of most dreams is self-doubt. Like, besides work and anything else, self-doubt is the biggest killer of most dreams. So I like to let everyone know that everyone's an entrepreneur, like everyone, right? If we stripped everything away, that's what I like to tell everybody. If you stripped everything away, like The pandemic was a perfect example of that. If we stripped away your cushy little job and we stripped away every little thing that you thought was comfortable in your life and say, go and fend for yourself, you would find a way. You'd say, hey, I have this. I'll barter with this guy to give me that. I have a chicken. Can you give me this? You would find a way to figure it out. And that's what entrepreneurship really truly is. You're just going to be figuring yourself out and trying to figure your way through. Sometimes you already have a pre-built-in skill that you learned in corporate America that will directly translate. But most people think that since the structure isn't around them, that they have to create it, that it's going to be a problem for them. So self-doubt is the biggest thing that I face. And that's like, I would say the first 3 weeks of a conversation with someone is about that and that build up. The next thing I try to do is try to say, let's strip your idea down to the most basic thing possible, right? So if you're like, I want to start a clothing company, right? And I want to be the Louis Vuitton, the next Louis Vuitton. I'd be like, all right, great. Let's scale it down to the one thing you can afford. Is that a shirt? Is that a hat? Let's start with the smallest product you possibly can, which is called the MVP, the minimal viable product. And let's test that in the marketplace first. Don't try to create a whole brand, a whole line, a whole thing. Just choose one thing and let's get started with that one thing. If no matter what the company, just keep going from there.
I think that's key though. And I just wanted to break in on there because I was having this conversation today. Both my significant other and I are both new entrepreneurs. And so we both encourage each other. And one of the things we come up against is seeing the people out there in the marketplace that are doing it big. Like they've got the multiple, hat wear, shoes, ties, this, blah, 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 blah. And you looking like, damn, I ain't even like made a sketch yet. How am I going to get there? So I think that's awesome advice to just be like, yo, start with that one thing. Like start and focus in on that one thing so that then you can develop that, grow that. And then, one thing we were just talking about today is then that natural expansion into the other things. Let's read this. It says, I get that for some of us. Our parents want us to have the opportunities that they may not have had. However, and this may be controversial, we're not responsible for living their dreams. We need the space to carve out our own paths and define success for ourselves. Some of the unhappiest people I know have followed the traditional path and suppressed their own non-traditional desires. Shelly Champion, you have quickly become an all-star here because last week she was dropping knowledge. But I think you and I talked about that too, and especially you coming from an immigrant household, the expectations for that they sacrifice for you to get here to this country to have more opportunities. And I'm sure that is not easy to tell your immigrant mother, like the sacrifice she made, like you're not going to go down that path. But as Shelly was saying, like, yo, you've got to live your journey and your path. Right.
Yeah, and trust me, I was more bullheadish, and I was more like, no, this is what I'm gonna do. There would have been a lot of other kids, 18, 19-year-olds would have like folded against what their parents would say, but I just kept on arguing back and like, no, this is the way. And I always said, if I don't figure this out, then school's always down the corner. Community college is right down there. I can always go to community college if you want me to, but let me do this first.
Yeah, I want to dive into this, and then we're gonna I'll move into our next segment, and then you're gonna come back with us when we close out with our panel conversation. You are a Black man, right? We know that. We both Black men on here. I put the chart up first, that graphic that my brother supplied to us earlier today. And some of the things that we're talking about, poor schools, gang culture, redlining, right? All of these things that have the ability to stifle us. And a lot of these things are very unique to our journey as Black people and our journey to achieving the so-called American dream. What has been some of the most, I would say, either devastating, eye-opening, or just stifling things that you've encountered as a Black man, as a Black serial entrepreneur on your journey?
I would say the prejudgment that comes from everybody else is the biggest thing. Like, you walk into a business. When we had a cleaning company, walk into a business, you try to pitch them, and instantaneously the secretary's like, what's going on here? She's like clutching her pearls, and you have to like see that, recognize it, and then still be professional on top of that. Like no one knows that you're seeing them like they're grimacing or they look like they're in fear, and then you still have to be professional. You got to swallow that instantaneously you walk into a business, you want to call that out right away, but you also do want their business as well. So you can't call that out. So I think that's one of the biggest things to overcome. And but on the other side of that, though, I think if you're giving whatever your services, your business is, if you provide great service, a great business, a great product, the people are going to come and support you. And it doesn't matter what color, not race. I mean, I think last time you and I spoke, the person who gave us our biggest loan for our company was an old white woman that didn't know us from Adam. When our clean company, she gave us 10 grand and she knew us for maybe 2-3 months at that time. But we delivered a product and we delivered a service and we delivered it great and we were professional every single time. And people see that no matter what. So it's kind of like, it's two-sided. One, you could see that the messed up stuff that happens, and then the other side, you're like, man, there's some good people out here. You just got to keep pushing because good people are going to find you, you know?
Julius, I'm speaking to our illustrious producer. Julius, if you can make a note, because when we come to our panel discussion with Aamira and Jerome, I want to go back into that, about that experience that you just described about being prejudged, because I know that takes a toll on us. And I know you talked about remain professional, but man, when it happens over and over and over again, and not even when you're just going in for the client, but when you may try to go in to get a loan, when you may try to go in and, present your product, whatever the case may be, that shit can get tiring and very traumatizing.
Okay. And it happens from like door to door. You can walk out of one business and it happens 6 times in one day, and you have to try to remain professional about it.
So we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that. Jerome, man, listen, we got through this first with no technical difficulties. I love it. Aamira, where are you at, Miss Lovely Winemaker and marketing strategist? Come on. Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Did anything that Jerome said in that first segment, anything resonate with you? Anything just kind of stand out with you about your own journey and your own story?
Child, all of it.
Well, let's dive in then. Come on, what we talking about?
Listen, I'll just start with the very last point that he made about the prejudge. And in winemaking, in the wine and spirits industry, I think it's a known fact that there's not many people of color. And then to be a woman of color, a Black woman at that, you don't see too many of us. We're very, scattered. And so one of the reasons why I'm even pursuing my WSET certification, I'm certified in level 2 in wine education. But the only reason why I'm pursuing it is just so people will take me seriously when I'm in a room talking about wine. Like, I'm the Black girl with locks, who's very personable and bubbly. And sometimes the people you see in these environments are very stuffy and snooty and not as fun and not as cute as me, So
come on now.
Listen, okay.
Tell the truth. This is the naked truth. Tell it.
It's very intimidating. And I just felt the need to have the certification to say, oh, you don't think I know something? Well, guess what? This certificate says I do. But I shouldn't have to, but that's just the extra step that I think people of color have to take, because there are a ton of people in the industry who are not certified, because you don't have to be in wine. But I felt the need, and what does that say about me in society, to like have proof that you can listen to me. I know what I'm saying, you know?
Aamira, let's back up, because now when we first started talking, I said that in the introduction phase. I said, listen, she says she's got a wine company. I was like, we got to connect. We connected. But when we had our conversation and you started to tell me your story, I said, hold up. Listen, I got to have you come on, because you followed the traditional path. Like you went to college, you got the degrees. You're in corporate America. You have the family, right? You've got the American dream, right, rocking for you in that. And yet, in our conversation, you were like, "That wasn't it for me."
It wasn't it.
Talk to me a little bit about your journey, and like what first of all told you have to go and do it this way in the beginning.
Absolutely. So I think just the environment I grew up in, my background, like I come from a very, very loving family, a huge family from Orange, New Jersey. Shout out to all my people in Orange.
New Jersey.
Whole family lives here, but there wasn't anyone who had graduated from college. And I knew and felt the pressure that was going to be me first, right? And so I always had that idea that I was going to graduate and start my life. I also, was in programs throughout my youth for gifted students and got a chance to go to a very, very great high school on scholarship. Shout out to Kent Place and Summit. So my path was kind of carved out that I would go to school. And then once I got to college, it was on me. Like, there's no room for failure. Like, everything is riding on me. And so, like you mentioned, by the time I was 24, I had the degree, the husband, the house, the kids, and the corporate job. And by 30, I was burnt out. And by 30, I realized I had nothing for me, nothing that was just a dream of mine that I pursued. Wow. My kids are amazing, wouldn't trade them for the world. Like, they're absolutely going to change this world. I'm sure of that.
Yes.
But I never really planned on doing that. I just found myself being robotic and just going with the flow. Wow. I literally was going with the flow. I literally did not allow myself to fail, make mistakes, do anything out of fear throughout my entire 20s. It was like I was checking off boxes because that's what I thought I was supposed to do.
But Aamira, let me say this. That fear, because I think that exists with many of us as Black Americans, because we don't feel like we have room to bounce around and to fail and to, right? We don't get that luxury of finding ourselves.
No.
And so many of our white peers, if you are in academic spaces or otherwise, or even in employment spaces, our white peers sometimes seem to have that privilege to be like, well, I just took this, right? The privilege, right? We talked about this last week, right? I just took this job because I'm really trying to find myself, but I just don't know. And for a lot of us, it's like there is no safety net. There is no rich uncle. There is no inheritance from grandma that we're counting on. So we feel like if we don't get it right, we ain't gonna get it. And that there are other people. You mentioned your family, right? There's also sometimes this pressure of being the first one. You're gonna make us proud. Like, and so that pressure.
Feed off that pressure. Feed off that pride. Like, I want to make you proud.
Yeah, right. Yes.
That's what it is, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that. So you had come to this place where you're like, man, I have not really done something necessarily that was for me, that was my dream. I have all of this, right? I have all of this, which is wonderful, right? But I'm like, there's still something missing. So where did you go from there, and how did you even kind of make that transition from, okay, moving from what everybody expects you to do to something that you wanted to do?
Yes. So like I said, it was something that kind of flipped and switched when I hit 30, because I felt like I took inventory of my life and there wasn't enough joy. And so I had started doing self-help books and, growing in my faith and spirituality. And most people have heard this story. If you've ever been to one of my wine tastings, I had finally read the book, The Alchemist.
Okay. Yeah.
It was one of those books that kind of hit me like a lightning bolt, where what I took away from it the first time I read it twice, was stop overthinking, which I am an overthinker. I do it all the time. And it was like, follow the signs. And when I thought about, and do what you like, right? And so when I thought about what I like, I was like, I like to drink. I like wine. That's when I have fun. That's when I light up. And like, I would go to wine tasting just for the fun of it. I would ask questions. I would read about wine on my own time. Like, I noticed that I had this growing love and passion for this wine world, and the fact that I was like, there's not enough of us. Ooh, I get to be up in here first. Like, I know I'm not first. I'm nowhere near first. But you get what I mean? I get to come kind of on that ground level, as a lot of us are making our way and making names for ourselves in this industry. And so on one of my long commutes to New York, because I work in the city, I took the train about 2 hours each way.
Woo.
It was my life for a very long time. I was just like, I want to make my own wine. Like, literally. And I'm the type of person, if I say something, I'm going to do it. If I want something, I pretty much
Me too. I'm with you.
But it's the saying it out loud. I can also have fear. I won't even say it if I don't think I can do it, or I can be perfect at it. This time I said, forget that. I don't care if I'm perfect. I don't care if I don't have a business plan.
Wow.
I'm taking a risk for the first time in my life, and I'm taking a risk on me. Not my kids, not the family, not the job, on Aamira because I deserve a life of joy and passion and purpose.
Aamira, let me say this because I just came off of a show when we talked about being Black and privileged. How would you address the woman who is hearing you right now, and you say, "But yeah, you know what, Aamira? But you have that privilege. You had the corporate career. You have the husband. You have the family. You mentioned you already have the house. You have the education to maybe fall back on." How would you speak to that woman who is like, "I don't have all of that, right? And so like I'm not privileged enough to maybe follow what makes me happy and passionate." How would you speak to that person?
I think at the end of the day, we all have choices. You get to choose the life you want. I know even if I didn't have the kids or the husband or this or that, at that moment, I would still make the choice to go after something I want and something that I desire. I think this idea that there's a privilege and then I'm still a Black woman.
Yeah.
There are still the same bad. When I walk into a room, they're still going to see a Black woman. I could have easily talked myself out of it and said, nope, not going to happen. No one's going to let me into this door. But people do it every day. It's the choice. It's like what you guys were saying. You have the work ethic. You may not have had the degree, but you got secretaries working for you with more degrees because you made a decision. Yeah. You made a decision to go after something. We see it every day. People with less go after something and they achieve it. And I think that's what I'm teaching my kids too. Like, I'm not raising brats. If you want, people value things they work hard for. How many times you hear that story? Like, I had nothing, now I made it. That's the story people want to hear. Yeah. It's not the story of I had it all and I also a business fell in my lap. Lovely wine didn't fall in my lap. I work for it every.
Come on, say that, sister.
On top of the 9 to 5, on top of the kids, on top of everything else because it's my choice. I can choose not to do it or I can choose to do it. And even not making a choice is a choice. So anyone saying that their circumstances is keeping them from something, it's your choice. Now, will it be easy? No.
Yeah. This is what I talk to people about in my life coaching practice. I tell people, I say, rooted in reality, but committed to your vision. So you can be rooted in your reality and you can say, okay, listen, I got these bills. I may have these kids, these other mouths to feed, but there is a vision that I've been given, right, that I have to stay committed to. So it may not mean that I can just jump off tomorrow and say, I quit this job and I do, this, but it may mean, going back to kind of what Jerome was talking about, maybe I start with one thing. I start with one idea. And again, a couple hours a week, 3 hours a week or whatever, or on the weekends, I may use that time to flesh out this idea, to make this phone call, to do this research so that over time, I'm able to then now make incremental steps towards the vision. But I got to stay committed to the vision while also being rooted in my reality. So it is possible.
Yes, I just want to say something that I always say to the people that I mentor, and a word that I definitely didn't coin, but I always say I'm a careerpreneur, right? I have a career and an entrepreneur. I've been doing Lovely for 4 years now. I go at my own pace. I am in a race with no one.
Say that.
At the end of the day, this is my life, my choice. And that's when we start to compare and do all that. That's when you migrate from the vision. And one of the things I tell people to do every day to make yourself feel like you're really moving forward, do one thing. I don't care if I just sent an email regarding Lovely today. I did something for my business. I did something for me. I don't care if I did one post today. I did something for me and my business. I'm always moving forward, but at my pace, because people, I think we're in this time. I was talking to one of my really good girlfriends about this, where people are downplaying and the 9 to 5, and it's all about the entrepreneurial hustle. It's great. That's great. But stability is fun. Stability.
She's like, listen, what they call it? Health benefits and insurance feel real nice.
Listen, stability is great. And will I make it to full entrepreneur? That's the goal one day. But I also am realistic. I raise children. I have little girls watching me. And while I'm showing them that you can take risks, I'm also showing them you can be rooted. I like that in reality. My point really is that it doesn't have to happen tomorrow. I didn't have to jump out the window to start Lovely Wine.
Yeah.
I didn't have to.
Listen, you on here preaching today and you helping somebody. I saw somebody who said they helping. I want to put out a few statistics here and just get some of your response. CNBC did an article in early 2020 and it talked about it was entitled, "This underfunded female demographic is launching the most startups in America far from Silicon Valley. And it's talking about Black women. And it goes on to quote, Black women are starting businesses at the fastest clip of any racial group, according to research by American Express. It says since 2007, the number of firms owned by African-American women has grown by 164%. Go ahead, Black queens. And then it says though, despite the hustle, minority women are still being shut out when it comes to access to capital. And that was one of the things that I had posed in our questions when I was advertising today's show for people who are like, listen, I don't qualify for a loan. We talked about that rich uncle or that grandma who has the life insurance policy or whatever the inheritance. We may not have that. And it's saying that despite the hustle, minority women are being shut out when it comes to access to capital. And a lot of it was also talking about who they know, these networks. And you talked about this going into this room and you look around and people don't look like you. What's been your experience as someone who is part of this fastest growing population of entrepreneurs? What have you experienced as a Black woman?
Well, I will say this, that especially when it comes to funding, I know we're underfunded. I do lovely all on my own dime. That's another reason why it's taken me 4 years. I have this fear of debt and this fear of loans. And I think where other women and white people and men, they don't think about that. They know they can just file bankruptcy if something goes wrong, they know how to figure it out. And I feel like in our community, that's just not an option. So I think, and this is just an assumption, a lot of us don't even go after the funding because it's like, yes, we're probably not going to get it. And two, I'm scared, like I'm going to owe the man even more money. And so lovely is my blood, sweat, and tears. And every day I'm like, why am I so afraid to go after the money like other people do? So that's something I need to learn. So if anyone out there wants to help me figure that out, I'm all ears. But I think I love that I'm a part of a generation that is starting businesses, that's taking risk on ourselves, that are accepting the value that we have, the value that we bring to this world. Because let's face it, we are a vibe. And we influence a lot. So it's about time that we start taking ownership in our talents, right? In our abilities, in our knowledge, in our intelligence. And I'm just proud to be a part of that in any way that I can.
Aamira, we're getting ready to bring Jerome back. But before this, I just want you to talk to 5-year-old or 7-year-old Aamira. And what would you say to her about the American dream? What would you say to her about the American dream?
I would tell her that the American, to be honest, I'll be like, what's the Aamira dream? I'm talking to me personally.
Come on now.
Dream? Because I did not dream enough, Monroe, when I was a child. I literally followed what I thought I was supposed to do. I couldn't tell you what I dreamed about. The only thing I knew I wanted to be, I do remember this, I said, I want to be my own boss. I remember having that dream. I would tell her to dream and to allow herself to fail and make mistakes, as many mistakes as she needs to, so that she can live a life, so that you, little Aamira, can live a life of joy and purpose. And it's okay that I got there at post 30. I'm 34 now. I think I'm on the journey that I am supposed to be on, but I would have told her to make some mistakes and take some risk early on and enjoy her 20s.
Aamira, do you know what is so beautiful? While you're talking to that 5 or 7-year-old, I'm over here sipping on your dream.
You are. Oh.
I'm literally sipping on the manifestation of the word that you just gave to your 5-year-old and your 7-year-old self. And for anybody out there who is watching this and who is seeing this live and can understand, or even if you're watching the replay, this is possible. It is possible, y'all. And here is the proof here today. Aamira, I am so proud of you. First of all, Queen, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. We're going to go ahead and bring Jerome back on. Jerome, where are you at? come on back into this conversation and we'll wrap up here. Julius, if we have any questions or comments that we want to flash on the screen, this will be a great time for us to acknowledge that. So Jerome and Aamira, thank you so much again for just really sharing your stories. And I really want to, you all have spoken to the younger generation, all right? You all have spoken to the younger generation. What do you say to the individuals who are, Aamira, post 30, post 40, right? What are we saying to them? Where do we even begin if we can't even identify or even imagine starting over? What do you say? And any one of you can start.
I would say taste a lot of things, try a bunch of things that Aamira was talking about how she found that she was going to wine tastings, reading wine magazines. You already kind of know what you like. So just start trying that thing. And then we walk around with this thing in our pocket. It's a supercomputer. It's literally everything you need in the world. It connects you to people. It puts you in spaces. You can go and find somebody within that industry that you want to get into relatively fast and try to get in contact with them. So I would say just try, like just take tries and taste a lot of things. And also don't be afraid to fail. Failing isn't about failure. It just sets you up for another lesson. You just learn a lesson and you just keep learning lessons along the way. It's like the best educator you're ever going to have is failure. You don't learn anything until you start failing at it. Like, so you really have to just go try and fail fast and fail forward and fail quickly.
Yeah,
that's gonna be my biggest advice for anyone post.
What would you say?
Honestly, he said it all. That quote is actually on my website where it says the only failure is not trying. Yeah. And one of the things I always tell my kids too, and again, people that I coach or mentor, it's like, you can't fail if you try. You actually took a step.
Yeah.
If you don't try, that's the failure. And no one could take away from you, no matter what happens to Lovely Wine, that I tried, that I actually owned a business, that I actually, broke down some walls for another young lady to come behind me. So you have to try, you have to take a risk on yourself, and it most likely always pays off.
Yeah.
So there was a saying that we used to say with my business partner when we were like 18, nothing beats a failure but a try. So just if you try, it beats the failure every single time.
Yeah. I want to circle back, Jerome, where I had said I wanted to come back to, yes, thank you. Julius was like, he was right on time. He was reminding me. When we talked about you stepping into these spaces, Jerome, you talked about it when you were stepping into these spaces and them clutching the pearls. Aamira, you were talking about when you got to step into these spaces and you got to get these extra credentials just in order to feel validated or to have people say that you belong here. Now, I want to get into the light, because we can talk about it and say, yes, I've overcome, but what does that take? Because I know for each of you, whether it's going home to your significant other and being like, yo, this is some bullshit, right? We get real on the naked truth. Like, this is some bullshit. I'm tired. Like, they treat me like this or whatever. How do you handle the disappointments? And going back to that graphic that I put up there, how do you handle all of the stumbling blocks that people literally just put in our way because of the color of your skin? And Aamira, I want to start with you. What's been your process around that?
A thought just came into my mind when you said that, because it's almost like when it's not people of color who kind of make me feel like that or ignore me, I almost am used to that. I'm almost numb to it. My problem is when people like me actually act like they've never heard of my brand, or act like they've never seen me before, act like they've never met me before, as if there's not enough room in this industry for all of us. I honestly don't get mad. I'm that type of person, no matter who it is, I'll show you. That's it. I don't need to necessarily prove myself to anyone. Like I said, the certification is more for me too, to have validation and confidence when I'm speaking about wine, because I can flip a switch. I can do it super professional. I can bring it down a notch just to make sure people understand the culture and wine. But I use it as fuel, to be quite honest with you, because I know, like, it's in me. Like, I know I'm going to be great. I'm great. I know that. Right. I know I have room to be even more great. So no matter what you feel or say or think, or your prejudgments that Jerome was speaking about, it's not going to stop me. Like, it never has.
But
just
but Aamira, you know, you you was touching that soft spot when we talk about our own, right? And we've talked about this. We talked about this last week in being Black and privileged and some of the damage that we can do within the community to ourselves. So I want to pull that out because this show is not afraid to have those conversations that they told us when we was growing up. You don't tell our business outside the house. Well, we inside the house, and we're gonna talk about it today. Yeah, and so to understand that there can be so much damage that can be done just from our own. And we looked at the graphic of all the stuff that we already have to combat and deal with in this life, let alone, but we understand though, we understand, and this is my social work background, right? We understand that that's not in isolation, right? The behaviors is not in isolation. There are conditions that have been set up, right? There are things that we've experienced, trauma, hurt, pain, that then unfortunately has us perpetuated and has us inflict that upon even our own, right? So there's a lot of healing that we need to do in our community. And Jerome, what have you experienced that? Have you experienced that as far as within your own community as a business and an entrepreneur from your own people?
Yeah, 100%. And you know, they doubt your service or the thing that you're going to bring to them because they think that, you know, white ice is colder, you know, so that it's just one of those things that you're just going to have to kind of deal with. I just shrug it off. It's, you know, sometimes it's just, I look at it and say they're conditioned a certain way. Their mind is to think that if it comes from a white person, it's better. If it comes from somebody else that's other, it's a better thing. And, you know, and if you think about it, the marketing behind that has been pushed upon us for hundreds of years. So I don't really blame them. I know what it is, and I'm just going to have to, I just keep saying to myself, some will, some won't, so what, move on, and just kind of keep going from there.
But can I be real about this though? Like, cause you alluded to it, like you got to provide an excellent service. And I love my people. God knows I love my people. But you know, sometimes when we go to some of our own and we try to patronize, I be like, y'all, we got to get it together.
We also treat ourselves. We know. I want to back up. I'm gonna challenge you there.
Challenge me.
Expectations on ourselves that we don't have on
anybody else.
Okay.
Like, I'm just gonna make a very baseline comparison. Like, let's say there's not enough ice in your cup at the Black restaurant, but you wouldn't dare say that to a white restaurant. There's not enough ice, but I gotta have your ice perfectly counted out. Or I'm just the worst person ever. Like, I want you to think about some interactions. Like, we don't treat these big corporate businesses, we don't expect the things from like Walmart's and the, you know, big companies that we expect from Black people who have these small businesses. And I just want to finish another thought that I had, like, what only thing I can do to combat some of the treatment or prejudgment that we get from even our own people is just ensure that I'm not that way. I am very diligent in making sure I provide access to anyone. You can DM me, email me, I mentor for free. I am better when I help someone else be better. If I start competing and thinking there's not enough, that blocks my blessings. Not yours. So that's no matter what, when I say, you know, I'll show you too by showing I can do it and help others too.
I love that.
We gotta stop being harder on us than other people. Like, we just really have to stop.
I love that. And thank you for that challenge. Go ahead.
You also have to understand that a lot of Black businesses haven't had generational time to become good businesses. It's the first generation trying to build a business. They're understaffed, they're underfunded. How are they supposed to have everything you need when you walk in there, you know, to get the best possible service? Like, sometimes they're putting together a restaurant with their saving from their corporate job, and their cousins and aunt is trying to help them, and they're back there cooking. Granted, so you're gonna have to take it, you know, if you understand like this person's trying and they're gonna get there at some point, cool. But like, we can't always just put this high level on us to deliver a service or a product right when it's just the first generation. So you have to give a break. You know, like, I can say, hey, she doesn't have the best wine. It isn't Dujac. Like, okay, it isn't Dujac, but Dujac took years to get to where it's at right now.
Dujac, grandpapa was there.
Exactly. So it took some time to get there, and maybe her daughters, and one of her daughters in 3 generations from now, she's gonna have the next Dujac. But we have to shoot her some bail right now to have her figuring it out.
I love
to
it.
get there.
I love it. Listen,
Thank you,
y'all,
Jerome.
we got this question by Mike, but I just want to say real quick, y'all got me right together because I know my partner would be like, give him a break, because when it comes to customer service, I'll be looking around, I'll be like, where, and thank you for getting me together. Can you bring that question back from Mike? Let's see Mike's, and then we're gonna get ready to close out. As business owners, what keeps you up at night after the day is ended? So we'll close out there. What keeps you up at night, Aamira? Aamira, I'm sorry.
No worries.
Aamira, what keeps you up at night?
Just knowing that I did enough, right, that day, or am I doing enough for me? And so, like I told you, I have that rule where it's like, I give myself kindness and grace if I did at least one thing for my business today, because I'm very active, I'm very busy, and some days are just not always going to be your day. But I go to sleep knowing I did something for me. I did at least one thing for my business today, and that definitely helps me sleep better when I'm up. Like, did I do this? Did I do that? Did I get it all done? Sometimes you don't, but grace and kindness
I love
to
it. I
yourself.
love it. And you guys can see where you can find Aamira and her wines. Please patronize her. Please patronize her. I'm going to throw that same question to you, Jerome. Jerome, what keeps you up at the end of the day as an entrepreneur?
If I made an impact on the clients that I do have, like that's the one thing that I want to make sure that I pour into them. I want their cup to overflow. And sometimes I leave a call or I leave a conversation with someone. I'm not sure if I poured. I felt like I did, but I'm not sure if they received it. So that's one of the biggest things to keep me up at night. And now sometimes it's like we throw a random text at nighttime, like, were you clear on the conversation we had today? I just want to make sure. If not, we can jump back on another call again. Yeah. So that's one of the biggest things, is just also making sure that I deliver the best possible service and the best possible advice that I can. And if I can't, try to find or leverage or outsource it to someone I know that can give them the best possible advice on the planet.
Listen, I appreciate both of you. I want to thank both of my guests here, Aamira Garba and Jerome Fenton. Thank you for your insight, for your expertise, and thank you for your bravery, for stepping out there and showing us the way. I really appreciate it, because tonight you have helped a lot of people, and I know you did, including myself. Y'all done got me together. I'm gonna do better.
Just show that wine one more time and we good.
Yes. She's like, hold on, don't get it. Yes. Yes. Make sure you guys go and grab you a bottle of lovely wines. It's coming straight out of California. And then make sure you go listen to H is for Hustle podcast. Again, your boy was on an episode. Anything else you want to promote there?
Just go to hforhustle.com. That's the website. You can get all the podcasts, all the information on me there. If you want to be a client of mine, hit me up there. All the information is there as well. hforhustle.com.
Perfect. So listen, I want to thank all of you all for viewing tonight. This wraps up our September episodes. We got October coming up. It is going to be fire. This was episode 24. Remember, I want you to like, subscribe, and share. Like, subscribe, and share. Our social media, blow it up, y'all. Share with other people. We are here every Thursday night. And then make sure that you join the Facebook group, the Naked Experience Facebook group, okay? Because that's where the conversation continues, and that's where we're going to continue to build this community. I want to always thank my illustrious producer, Mr. Julius J.U. Jones. I want to thank my guests once again, and I want to thank each and every one of you. I'm going to see you next week for our first October episode, October 1st. Till then, y'all have a wonderful night. Take care.